you showing? Good morning, everybody. Welcome in. My name's Tracy. I'm here with my husband, Noel. Welcome to Zoe's Treasures. I don't know where we started the screen on somebody's YouTube page, but that's okay. Y'all, you got to forgive me this morning. I am sick. I came home from Indiana, very sick. Good morning, Second Blessings. Good morning, Southern Charm. Hello, I Love Discounts, Mary. So I don't know if I'm going to go the full 2 hours today. I took some medicine. Hopefully it'll kick in pretty soon. But I am having a hard time talking, as I'm sure you can hear. Good morning, Daisy Lane. So we're going to get as far as we can. We're going to do our best. Maybe we'll get through 2 hours. Who knows? Maybe I'll just get on a roll this morning. So welcome, welcome. It has been a long week for me. Oh, really? Oh, CG gave me cooties. Yeah, she's sick too, isn't she? I doubt I got it from her. I know where I got whatever I have. It's like a respiratory. I got it in Indiana at the cheer competition because you were just crammed in there with thousands and thousands and thousands of people. So you blame CG. So I know that's where I got it. Good morning, good stuffs. Anyways, came home from Indiana, been home for a few days. Good morning, mamas. And I'm supposed to be heading to New Jersey tomorrow. Why in the world? The big old storm's coming, and we have a cheer comp this weekend in New Jersey. It's supposed to be a 2-day comp, and they won't cancel it. It is beyond me. Good morning, Sadie. Beyond me why they won't cancel it. They did drop it down to 1 day, but I will be driving to New Jersey first thing tomorrow morning. It's about 3 hours from here, going to Atlantic City. And then she competes at like 11:30 and then 9:30 at night. So we'll get home. We'll be driving home as the storm is rolling in. So just fingers crossed all goes well Saturday in the middle of the night as we are driving home. I don't want to go, but I don't really have a choice. So I know I'm going to be careful. We're taking the 4x4 truck. So hopefully it won't be too bad. Mama's Couch is saying good morning to you.
I'm sorry, I'm a little distracted this morning trying to get everything ready and set up.
I woke him up late, so he didn't have his chance to do all his pre-setup.
Good morning, Mama. Good morning, I Love Discounts and everybody else.
So, what's going on this week? We've got some, I am going to be on, hopefully if I can feel well enough this week, almost every single day over the next week. Tonight.
Oh, I didn't see that, but Sadie's here. Hey, good morning.
Tonight I have the Creamer Show. You can see behind me, I have 100 or so. Well, I have, to be exact, I think I counted 97 creamers. So I may need to go find a few more just to make it an even 100. So Creamer Show tonight at 6 o'clock. And I Love Discounts, no obligation, but I did mod you for that one because I'm sure you can be pretty hilarious for that show. And then what's coming up? I'm trying to think of my schedule here. New Seller Surge is on Wednesday. So, Mama, you crack me up. New Seller Surge is on Wednesday. This is a raid train I do once a month, and it's just for new sellers, people who have less than 1,000 sales. So I'm going to go ahead and just tell you the names real quick. Noelle's going to tag them in the chat. And they may come in or they may not, but it'll let you know who you could go and see ahead of time. But we have coming up this week, Cottage Memories, Small Town Finds, Previously Mentioned, Basement Brats Art, Thrifting with Soul, and Sapphire 804. So these are all new people, less than 1,000 sales. Some of them their first raid trains. Maybe some have had a little bit of experience. But I love this raid train because it's just in the evening from 6 to 8. I started and end it, and the sellers have 20 minutes. And the thing is, they have to try something new. So the raid trade may be the new thing. They have to do $1 start item. It doesn't have to be high value, but just to get over that fear of starting something at $1, they have to do one random, one listed. So they've got to like push a lot of whatnot buttons and just experience different things and whatnot. That's what this train is about. Besides just kind of getting them used to a low pressure raid train idea. No, I did not put on explicit. I may need to do that. So, good morning. So that is Wednesday. Tuesday, I'm going backwards here. Tuesday is the Big Kahuna's Raid Train. This is one that I got to partner up with CG Echo Boomerang on. And this is a good one. So this is to be on the Big Kahuna's train. There's only 6 people. They get 20 minutes. It's a very short train. They have to have 20,000 followers, 15,000 sales, a really good rating, like a 4.8 rating. And they have to have, 8 sellers, not 6, 2-day shipping. And they're battling it out to see who is going to be the Big Kahuna of Whatnot. Cross categories, you'll see a whole bunch of different categories, a lot like larger sellers. And when I say larger, larger in numbers. And that's coming Tuesday. And whoever wins will be back the following month in February to try to like defend their title. So we'll see, are we going to have a Big Kahuna that stays, thank you, my love, a Big Kahuna that stays, for months and months? Or are they going to get knocked out every single month? But where it comes into that's really cool. All of you, either as sellers or buyers, can have a part in this. So if you go to CG's website, I don't know if you could try to find that really quick for me, and you find Big Kahuna's Raid Train, it lists who's there. You can actually vote on who you think is going to be the Big Kahuna. If you vote right, you're going to be invited to a special private VIP party after the show where you can, I'm going to take this little notification down here. Hold on. There you go. Where then you have a chance. It's just a giveaway show that we're doing afterwards. So it's a private show. So as a buyer, you can go and vote. As a seller, you could vote. You could also, if you raid into anybody, here it is right here, Big Kahuna's Raid Train. And let's go down. Right there it says pick the winner, so that's where you vote. And if you scroll down, we'll see who is on. So these are the first 8 competitors. We have JJ Shopper, TBC Productions, Mama's Toy Box, Brady's Collectibles, Cassandra, The Perfect Price, I Love Freeze Dried, and Spiritual Supply. So those are our first 8 competitors to see who's going to be the Big Kahuna of Whatnot. And won't let you type in the website. That is weird. I will message CG this morning about that. So she'll get it fixed, I'm sure. I'll let her know right away. As a seller, if you raid into any of those people during the show, with 10 or more people, you will be entered, you will automatically get an invite to the VIP party. So it's a point system. I'm not going to keep talking about it a whole lot, but it's a point system. They get a point if you raid in with 10 or more people. And as a seller, you get invited to the VIP party. So kind of think about that. Is there any of those that you really, really love that you want to raid that night? Maybe you could set up your show and start to get that ready. So that is that trade. And then there are plenty of other shows. Y'all, we have noticed that there are more and more people watching on YouTube. So if you don't know, we multicast to YouTube every single one of our shows most of the time. Sometimes the button doesn't work. If you are out there watching on YouTube, because we are noticing more and more people are watching from there, click the little, wherever it is, the little QR code, come on over. You can also put stuff in the chat on YouTube, and we will answer your questions, your YouTube questions, just as much as we will answer your Whatnot questions. So I was thinking about going a small show and just introducing myself and then what I'm selling. What do you think? You should do. That's wonderful. Good stuff. I think that's a great idea. I mean, any shows that you can do, the more you're on promoting yourself, the better it's going to be. So yeah, absolutely. I think that's a wonderful, wonderful idea to do. Speaking of YouTube, this Sunday, Reselling Roundtable. It is our big debut. So I'm kind of glad that I'm coming back from Atlantic City early because we are making our big debut, the Reselling Roundtable. That is Tony and Lysandra from I Love Discounts, Jeremy from Green 13, and of course myself and Noel. I'm going to be the one on camera, but my wonderful husband does all the behind the scenes stuff and has set up all of these things here. So that is on YouTube. If you're not following, follow that. It is live. We'll be taking questions. So it's going to be just kind of like our chat shows, but all 3 of us are going to be together. All right, I feel like I've just said a whole bunch of words. And my husband's like, yes, you have. Real quick.
A mile a minute. or probably less than that.
I feel if you go to my show notes, you're going to see a little disclaimer that I have put on for this show. After just kind of hanging out with Tony and Lysandra in Indiana and just thinking about it and watching some other stuff on Whatnot, I feel that I need to put it like some type of a disclaimer on this show. If you are here today, if you're here this morning, we talk about business and tax on Fridays. First hour, I have business topic I go through. The second hour, I have a tax topic I go through. I have 5 key points for each topic that I talk about. What I am doing in this chat show is not a step-by-step way to be successful on Whatnot. It's not a get rich quick. It's not do this and you're going to make so much, X number of dollars type thing. We're talking business principles, business strategies, tax principles. We're talking concept, theory, strategy that you can then think about and apply to your business if it fits or ignore it if it doesn't fit. You can apply it, maybe think about how it fits in with your goals. So it's not, there are people on here, food for thought. Thank you. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. If you are looking for the do this, XYZ to become the next largest Whatnot seller in the world, there are other sellers who give you that type of information. I'm not going to rag on anybody. I don't necessarily believe in the get rich quick or selling a hope and a dream. I believe in hard work and business principles. And that's everything I give you is going to come from that perspective. So just kind of, I know we're getting a lot of new people in. I just want to make that clear because I know what we do here is a little bit different on what you're going to see on some of the other shows. So with that said, I do have a workbook. It's the only time I'm going to do my little plug for it. It's in the bin if you're interested. There is a PDF version or you can get the hardbound. So the shows that I do every Friday morning, it's a 52-week series. It's going to go the full year. These shows build on each other, but they also can be watched standalone. They are all on YouTube. Let me go to week 4. The book I sell, if you're interested, again, it's not a how-to book. It is like a workbook. It's every week is going to give you the 5 key points for the business, the 5 key points for the tax, and then it's going to give you some takeaways, some application, questions to ask you on how to reflect on how this fits in your business and room for thoughts. So that's what I'm selling in the bin if you're interested, along with some PDFs. But I just felt like I needed to explain that a bit. I was talking to somebody earlier in the week about that workbook, and they're like, "Oh, I want to buy your book." But I think they misunderstood that it was like do step 1 through 10 and you'll make a lot of money. That's not what it is. So that's that. If you're interested, there's other stuff in the bin too you can take a look at. We're going to run some giveaways. All the giveaways today are my usual postcards, our motivational card, and you'll get one of our rewards cards. And with that, we're going to jump into our main topic because I'm already 15 minutes in. Look at that. This morning, we are talking about trust, transparency, and the power of going live. Now, this is kind of similar to what we talked about in week 1, but I have a few different points. We're going to kind of come at this from a different angle. And then we're going to talk about, for our tax portion today, reporting live sales income with confidence. One of the things we're going to talk about during the tax section in the second hour is tips and Whatnot, getting tips on Whatnot and how they're reported. Southern Charm asked this question last week, and I told her that I needed to go look up the answer because it was the reporting of tips. There's a new regulation on that, and I didn't know all of the ins and outs. So I have researched that. So I am going to talk about that in the second hour and how you report tips and kind of what that means. Millicent said, so Millicent's got one of the rewards cards this week. If you guys have not seen, if you're new here and have not seen these, I'm not doing Whatnot rewards. I am doing my own rewards. These are probably upside down. So these are my rewards cards here. I have 9 of them this quarter. There's going to be 9 new ones every quarter. I put 1 in every box. Every card has a code on the back of it, a coupon code. Each card by itself is worth $2 off any future show. It'll be good until the end of the year. Every show that I'm doing, like a selling show, I will have a code that combines 2 different numbers. I'm sorry, my love. Yes. So every show that I'm selling, I will have I will put two numbers in there, and if you combine those two cards, you get $5 off. Quarterly, I will put special ones where if you combine 3 or 4 of them, they're going to be worth a lot more, $10, $15, $20 off purchases. So as you purchase stuff, you get cards, keep them. You can use the first one for $2, and then you keep them because you'll be combining those cards for bigger and bigger discounts as you go throughout the year. That's how that works. All right. I thought he was going to say something. He leans forward to the mic, and so I stop and wait and look at him. So, where's I Love Discounts? What are you guys talking about? Oh, I Love Discounts lost all her cards already. She probably had the full set and she lost them. But in their defense, they are moving around a lot, like warehouses and stuff. So, okay, I got a question for you guys. When you're watching a show, what do you look for before bidding? What is something before, like brand new seller, or maybe not, like new to you seller, before you place a bid, what's something you're looking at before you're looking at their shipping fees? How much does shipping cost?
My wallet.
Yes, your wallet, our wallet. Look in the bin at the attitude. I like that. You're looking at how they're coming across, right? What's been already sold. Interesting. Their ratings. So if we kind of sum up, we look at all of this and in total on what you guys are saying, if they're organized, are they clean? Are they friendly? What their rating is? Have they sold anything? What their shipping is? We're looking at trust, right? We're looking for signs. Can we trust this person we don't know? So that's what we're talking about today. We're looking at buyers trust what they can see. Are the items clean? Daisy Lane, you're organized. I Love Discounts. Are they clean? Is stuff folded? Is this stuff just thrown all over the floor? Exactly. We're looking at what is that we see that gives us some comfort, right? So I want to talk about how live selling, it's not just about moving our inventory really fast. It's about building trust that protects our income and protects our future. And we build trust by being organized chaos, by being organized, by having a good attitude, by showing our items properly, making sure we're noting all the call outs. That's how we're building the trust. And that's power that we have as a live seller that we don't have in any other way. What you are doing on the screen today is going to affect tomorrow. So if you're not building trust every single time you're live, you're going to be instead of building blocks up, you're just going to kind of keep creeping along. You're never going to be stepping up with your buyers and building that trust. So everything we do when we are live is adding into that trust and transparency. And Carolina girl, you got that first giveaway. Congratulations. And thank you for being here this morning. So from a buyer's perspective, let's just take a look at most of us are buyers on the app, right? So from a buyer's perspective, seeing the item removes the doubt. This is what's so great about our live selling is we can see the item. It helps to remove that doubt. I shouldn't be this way, but it's hard to shop if they stay off camera. Very true, mama, because just seeing somebody's face helps build that trust, right? Like if you never see them or if they never flip the camera around occasionally just to build that rapport, you're buying from some mystery person. It gives you a little bit of doubt. And that's what we're talking about right here. We're just about to talk about seeing the item, seeing the person, remove some of the doubt that we may have as a buyer. So all of you that are out there that are like, oh, I'm thinking about selling, or maybe I'm a brand new seller and I'm really scared to put the camera on me. First of all, totally natural feeling. A lot of us have been there. I didn't show my face for the first 6 months. Once you do, though, you start to build trust faster, which immediately results in more sales. I mean, it may not be like you go from 1 to 1,000 sales instantly, but you will see a difference. If you're one of the sellers that don't show their face and all of a sudden start showing, and it's because your face, your presence helps remove that doubt from the buyer side. Tony didn't show his face until the 10,000K follower show. Wow. I don't think I ever realized that. Doubt, when we start talking about doubt, doubt is what slows your bids. Doubt causes disputes, buyer remorse, and creates a need to refund. So when somebody never sees your face, let's just think about it like this. If you've never seen my face and you buy something from me and you're kind of like, oh, I spent too much money, I got it. Maybe you're just like, oh, you have some buyer's remorse. If you don't know me as a person, if you've never seen my face, it's not even knowing like all the ins and outs about me, but all you've seen are hands, I'm less real to you. And it's easier to justify a return, a regret, a remorse. Once you see somebody, once you start making this connection, the ability for somebody on the other side, now there's always those outliers, there's always just, people who are mean, right? But once you start making this connection, you're building that trust and removing the doubt from the buyer. When they get something that's broken, or maybe it's just not quite what they wanted, it's more or less because of the human nature. We're going to think twice about, oh, but that's Bob. Oh, I really liked Bob. He smiled at me the whole show. It makes it harder. It reduces that return rate, that doubt, that regret, that buyer's remorse. Now, it's not going to remove it completely, but it's one of the factors that we have in our advantage that just a static type listing doesn't have, is removing that doubt and creating that trust. So Mama says, I'm more forgiving if I know the person or at least their face. We feel like we have a connection. We're human. Did you? Oh, no. Okay. I never know. He's over there like, I never know if my husband wants to say anything. He's like, so that the live selling, the ability we have to create that trust replaces like buyer's assumption with more confidence. And we want our buyers to have confidence in buying from us, right? Let me give you an example. Now, this probably isn't the best example because honestly, I've had 2 jewelry shows now, and they were both a work in progress. We're going to put it like that. It's a work in progress. I'm going to talk about this for just a second because it kind of ties into the point I'm making here. I've moved over, or I've expanded to the jewelry category. I've had 2 shows, and there is definitely room for improvement. It is a very humbling experience selling something you've never sold before. After my very first show, I had a very nice person message me and they said, hey, if you're charging, a little bit higher rates, people want to see that 925 mark on there. They want that confidence. They want to know it's real. And they were 100% correct. So this is a perfect example of building trust and confidence within your buyers. He's dancing, yes. So the second show, I started making sure I was showing the 925 mark. This is something we can do as a live seller that is not as easy to do when you're not live selling. However, seeing that helps the buyers trust me more. Now, going back to just the jewelry shows in general, extremely humbling. We are going to try a whole new format next time. Carolina girl, you need to go buy some lottery tickets today. Congratulations. So the point is that showing certain things on your items like the 925, well, today's your lucky day. Showing things like the 925 on silver jewelry helps build that confidence. Visibility, I'm losing my pen. I try to hold the pen so I don't talk with my hands so much. As you can see, it doesn't work. Visibility lowers risk, which reduces returns. The more we're showing something, and this is pretty basic, everybody knows this. However, watch different sellers. You will see various different methods. Some sellers, I'm just going to grab 2 things really quick. Some sellers may be like, okay, here it is. I'm going to measure it for you. I'm going to show you every little piece of this. Oh, wait, there's a tiny little, I feel something here. So some sellers are really going to be showing you everything. They want to make sure that you are 100% confident in what you're buying so that when you get it, and if you see that little tiny thing, you're not like, return, right? Other sellers are like, check it out. I got a creamer. Boom, it's running. All right, here we go. Here's another creamer. Boom, it's running. And I'm not talking about like volume. There's a little bit of different theory here when you're volume selling versus more niche selling. But you will even see some of the people that aren't volume selling just kind of be like, hey, I got a creamer. This is pretty cool. Run it. versus, oh, I got a creamer. Look at the inside. Look at the mark, right? I just gave you a light bulb, higher price items, show more detail, 100%. We want to build that confidence and that value. You're actually like 2 steps ahead of me because we're going to talk about how that buyer confidence relates to higher prices.
Good morning, Miss Kate and Kimmy.
Good morning, Kate. So when we focus on our accuracy and buyer confidence on the front end, it reduces that remorse on the back end, which is good for all of our business, right? We don't want returns. The more information we can give on the front end, the less or the happier our customers are going to be on the back end. I don't like being sold to. I want to sit on the porch and buy from my neighbor. And that almost leads us to our second point, which we'll talk about in just a minute. But yes. So kind of action or like in Whatnot world, what is this like? What does this look like? Fewer disputes equals fewer refunds. The happier people are, the less they're returning stuff. Fewer refunds equals cleaner revenue tracking for you. We don't want to have to deal with backing out revenue on our books. So it helps us even in the longer term. And cleaner revenue is easier tax reporting. So giving more detail on the front end can go all the way, follow a trail all the way down to taxes and help make the whole path cleaner and easier for you. Good Stuff says, I want my future buyers to know the details regardless of it being used or new. Fast-paced selling works for some. And I'm not saying that and I agree. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that if you're doing it fast, you're not giving all the details. Certain items are meant to be sold fast. Certain items don't need all the details. But here's a perfect example. I love discounts, and I'm not saying this just because we're buddies, but I love discounts when they're selling health and beauty. They go very fast, 100 items or so an hour, which is a pretty darn good fast pace. However, when they're selling health and beauty, you will always hear them say the expiration date, any key pertinent facts about that item. So you can go fast and still give information that to help boost buyer confidence and decrease any remorse buyers may have on the back end. So it's still possible to do both. It's just the amount of detail you're giving may vary, or exactly what you're saying about them. So that was our first point. Our second point here, the second thing we're talking about is transparency reduces disputes. So we already kind of covered, the more I give up front, the less returns I'm going to have. So you need to look at this as disclosure is protection. Yep, makes sense, right? Transparency reduces your disputes. You're disclosing stuff up front is protection for you as a seller, as protection for the buyer. They know what they're buying. I saw Green 13 yesterday, picked up a brooch, legit picked up the brooch. The front of the brooch fell right off. He didn't just be like, okay, let's fix this and put it back on camera. He's like, yep, y'all just saw that it fell off. Look, there we go. We just stuck it back on and ran it, and it sold for like $20-something. But it was, the point is that he was open and honest with it. Like, it was right up front, and he wasn't trying to hide it. He wasn't trying to shove it under the carpet, right? Mary, you got that giveaway. Congratulations. Thanks for being here.
Congratulations.
So disclosing flaws, we already said, builds trust. Buyers don't fear flaws. They fear the surprises, okay? Especially if you're talking vintage and antiques. Flaws are to be expected in vintage and antiques. There are gorgeous antiques that might have a minor chip. When I'm buying vintage or antiques, I look for stuff, obviously. I don't want cracks or chips, but there's sometimes I'll pick something up that's a gorgeous historic piece with a crack or a chip, and I'm like, you know what? I can forgive that because of the value or the beauty of this item. And buyers are the same way. They will overlook certain flaws because of what the item is or what it may mean to them. However, they're going to be pissed if the flaws are realized when they open the box versus before they spend their money. So buyers do not fear flaws. And sometimes we tend to think as a seller, if I disclose every flaw, it's going to lower my selling price. It might lower your selling price, but that's okay, because what you're doing is you're building trust for the long term. So you may get a little bit less on this item, but that buyer appreciates you more. They're going to come back, they're going to spend more money, and you're going to have a repeat customer. So yeah, you may get a little bit less on one item because it has a flaw, but what are you doing to build because of that, right? It builds your credibility as your brand. I don't want to be known as a liar. I don't want to just put as is on all my items and have it be on your plate to figure it out. I'm still going to put as is because I'm human and I miss stuff, but I'm going to try to tell you everything up front. Good morning, White Oak Treasures. So tell every call out, flea bite, flaw, rip, hole, stain that you are aware of. Let's see. Final key point on this, because I don't want to keep harping on the same thing, but we got a couple of key points. Disclosure is risk management, not lost revenue. Everything brick and mortar businesses do is done by a risk management. Why do you think Whatnot put spending limits and watching limits on, like in your account controls? They're mitigating risk. They're managing their risk that somebody is going to have a gambling problem and come back and sue them. Uses Pinterest. I do. Thank you. I love discounts. I don't have an example right here, but if I have something, if I have an item that there is a chip or something on it, I've started to, when I'm putting it on my shelf, put a little piece of painter's tape. Then when I pull it to show it, I'll pull the tape off, but that tape tells me in that fast-paced selling moment, hey, there is a flaw you need to make sure you talk about. And you know what? I just had something new that I've recently just started doing, and I did it as risk management. It's a risk management procedure because I missed a flaw. I sent it to somebody. They were very unhappy. And they ended up, I had to refund them, which was the right thing to do. I wasn't upset about refunding them. I was more upset that they were unhappy because of something I just didn't see, I didn't catch, I forgot to mention. So definitely using this as a way, the painter's tape as a way to mitigate those risks to hopefully ensure the happiness on the back end as much as possible. Let's not forget, as buyers on here, we all need to offer grace. Every single seller on here is a human being with a busy life and a lot of things going on. And no matter how honest we want to be, sometimes we just miss something. Good morning, Cynthia. And if your buyers see that you pick something up and has a little piece of tape on it and you pull it off, just explain what you're doing. Most people will appreciate it. They're not going to be like, oh, that's not professional. That's weird. No, most of them will appreciate it. So prevention, a little ounce of prevention is far cheaper than cleaning up a mess, right? So, and it's not just dollars. Just keep in mind here, all of this isn't just dollars. Yes, everything eventually hits the bottom line. It's your reputation. And we want a good reputation. He's over there giving me hand signals. I want a camera that I control to put on you. All right. Let's move on to our third point here.
Negative.
All right. Do you enjoy learning about items while in a show? I think somebody earlier said they want to sit back and feel like they're buying from their neighbor. When you're in a show, do you enjoy learning about an item? We have quite a few yeses. White Oak Treasures, you got that giveaway. Thank you for being here.
Congratulations.
In general, sometimes we got a lot of yeses. I think we may have a little hesitation. Sometimes we're like, look, if I just want a fast-paced, boom, boom, boom show, maybe I don't want a lot of talk. If it's something that doesn't need education, then you might not need to, hear a lot of talk. But in general, I think most people like to hear about items, but not too long. And please run it. Yes, don't talk to me for 20 minutes. 30 seconds or so. You could probably give a lot of relevant information in 10 to 30 seconds. So the point I want to make here, and we kind of talked about it a little bit earlier, is live explanations have the potential to increase the perceived value from your buyer. If I just put this mug out here and say, hey, check it out, we got a mug, okay, it's running. You're like, okay. But if I tell you about this mug and I say why it's special, who makes it, why it's worth its price, And I don't have to put it that way. I don't have to say this mug is worth $50 because it is made by XYZ. I don't have to do that. But if I give you a little bit of reason to be like, ooh, this is no different. This is no different than why the mass population is drawn to Louis Vuitton or Gucci or any other name brand you want. It's a symbol, it's status, it's owning something of quality, owning something of value makes a lot of people feel good. Now, everybody isn't into that, but for a mass population, a lot of people are. But yes, highlight what makes it special will automatically in your buyer's head start to increase that value. Now, that doesn't necessarily affect where you have to start it, but if you have something that the first time they see it and they think it's worth $20, but then the more you talk about it, they're like, oh, I would actually pay more than that. I would pay $60 for that.
Sorry, Lisandra, I just tuned out.
Your bids are going to start going up because of it. Highlight what makes it special. Run as you're talking, but mention callouts before you run. I've bid on something before the callout was mentioned. Oh, yes, previously mentioned. I totally agree. Callout should be like the first thing. Or you should say, hey, I'm going to tell you about this, but there's a call out. Let me tell you about this, and then I'm going to point out the call out. Like, at least let them know. And then make sure you're pointing that out. I'm sitting here watching. It just popped up as I'm just joining. This is going to vary by selling style, right? On what we're talking about. I love discounts in their health and beauty. For some reason, I'm just using them a lot as examples today. When they're selling Mighty Patches, there's not a lot of live explanation about a Mighty Patch. At the very beginning, they're like, hey, this isn't just for pimples. You can use it for bug bites too. That might be the only explanation that's needed because that's a piece of information that a lot of people don't know. All of a sudden, you have just now increased your audience size because now you're not just marketing to people who have pimples, you're marketing to people who also get bug bites, right? So sometimes it's not about telling a whole, look at that, see? Carolina girl didn't know that. Now you know. So now you can be a Mighty Patch buyer, right? Sometimes it's not just giving them more information or education. It's expanding the amount of people who may want that product because they didn't understand there was another use for the product. Pimples, look at blisters, cold sores, the list goes on and on. It's good for everything. So you can still apply the same concept to volume selling. Education justifies and increases pricing. Always. This is why most of us walk around with the black light, right? Anything that glows instantly seems to increase in price. I didn't realize that when I first started on Whatnot. Just giving little bits of knowledge about something. Hey, the silver market hit an all-time high today. Guess what that means? That means the silver I'm selling over here is worth a lot more than what it was yesterday, right? If Whatnot is managing risk by making limited spending available, what role does the seller play as a catalyst in transactions? Great question, Eye for Beauty. We're going to do the same thing we've always done. Personally, I don't agree with the limiting spending availability on Whatnot. I see why they're doing it. I understand the business perspective. It probably makes a good business sense. But we have to do what we're doing anyways, creating trust, disclosing flaws, building buyer confidence, removing barriers to the buying. I will never change my point of view. I don't want to say never say never. But I'm pretty strong in my point of view, as that is our role as a seller, is to remove barriers. We remove those barriers by interacting, building trust, engaging, building up the confidence in our buyers. Kind of everything I'm talking about here is what this is going to lead to. Cynthia, you got that giveaway. I don't either. I have to hide my phone or my daughter locks my spending for a week. Oh no. I've thought about doing that to my husband when he leaves his Whatnot out, but I won't do it. All right, what am I going to talk about? Buyers pay confidently when they understand the value. Jeremy is a perfect one for this. Have you guys ever gone into a Green 13 show? Yesterday, here you go, yesterday, he pulled out a tray of Cameos. He sat there and said, you guys, and he did this. He gave a live explanation. He put this theory into practice perfectly. He brought out a tray of Cameos and he said, everybody, I have a listing in the bin, and I might not be doing it word for word, but basically this is what he said. You can see that listing in the bin on what I have these cameos listed at. He goes, I can't run these for $1. Because I cannot sit here and take that risk of losing thousands upon thousands of dollars on running my cameos for $1. These are special cameos. These are all 10, 14, and instantly, I guarantee you, half the people in his room, yes, he did a bin listing, but it was an auction listing. People were drooling over these cameos. Like, I was like, oh my God, look at these things. You know how much he ran those for? $500. He went from running $1 jewelry to $500 cameos. I didn't stay after that. I was running errands, so I couldn't stay for a long time, but he sold one or two, I'm sure. I know he sold at least one. He explained the value. It removed the doubt in the buyer's mind that they're like, yeah, I know this. Like, how many of you would open up a Whatnot show ready to drop $500 on a cameo? Probably not a lot of us are doing that on a regular basis, right? However, if we had $500 of discretionary money and we saw something and the value was explained and we're like, oh man, yeah, that's real. This is a deal. And it was a deal. Like, what he was selling was a deal, even at $500. And he does have the following, but there wasn't a ton of people. I mean, he had his normal people in the room. And when I say normal for Jeremy, that's like 150, 180 is normal. When he does special shows, he gets more. But you don't have to. You can have 10 people in your room and still have the same effect. Maybe not sell a $500 cameo. Maybe you could. Let me give you an example of somebody who sells high dollar stuff. I Love Discounts. If you know who they are, put them in the chat for me, please. I think it's called Thrifting Mama. Thrift Mama. She sells jewelry, high-end jewelry. She's not doing dollar starts. Ivory Beauty is putting somebody in there. She doesn't do cheap jewelry. It's real gold, real stones. And I saw her running $500, $600, $700, $800 items yesterday. And every time I go into her room, I go into her solds because I'm fascinated by this woman. Fascinated. I go into her solds, and almost every single show I've been into, she has sold something of high value. She talks about it. She educates. She tells you what the stones are, why, what type of gold it is, how it's made, what the setting is like. She's helping you to understand and appreciate the value of the item she's selling, which justifies that cost, and she's making sales because of it. I know a lot of us, myself, a firm believer in dollar starts. But that's not the only way to do Whatnot. You can do Whatnot and ask a price if you can justify that price, if you can convey that value to your buyers. And it's not always about, well, eBay sells it for this because that's kind of cheesy. I think that turns a lot of people off. So it's not about talking about the dollar. Understanding and increasing your perceived value is educating, is talking about the attributes more so than the dollars. Look at Ivory Beauty sold a $400 item yesterday. And now you guys want to see somebody who's great about talking about an item, go to Ivory Beauty. Now, Ivory Beauty is not going to run fast. He's not a boom, boom, boom seller. He is a very mellow, take your time, I'm going to talk to you seller. But he's going to educate you. You get him talking about glass, you will learn so much about who makes it. And therefore, the more he talks, sometimes I'll go in his room and I'll see something and I'm like, ooh, I like that. But then the more he talks, I'm like, that's slowly going out of my price range because I know that's going to be a pricey item. But he's being effective. He's creating that value in my head, right? So what can you do? You can tell the history. You can talk about the attributes. You can tell various facts about the item. Of course, all the details. Or you could talk about memories that's associated with that item. Beach Nana Treasures, congratulations. Thanks for being here.
Congratulations.
The Aaron Sphere is in the house.
Aaron Sphere, good morning. Good morning, Aaron. So, fun facts. Here's how the Aaron Sphere, since he just walked in, I'm going to use him as an example. Here's how he does this, how he could increase perceived value in some of the stuff he sells. He sells a lot of selling notions, fabrics and such, patterns. with his notions, what are you going to say about a zipper, right? It's a zipper. Here you go, folks. It's a zipper. He's made up kind of like stories and relates zippers to a humorous adult jokes type format. And people are like, oh, this is funny. I'm going to stay first of all to hear it, and I'm going to buy a zipper just because I don't need it. It's gone from $1 zipper to a $4 or $5 zipper. When we talk about increasing value, it's not always talking about just super high-end, super expensive stuff. We're going to be talking about just getting $2 or $3 more in your bid prices. You do that consistency over multiple items, it adds up really, really quick. There you go. Who doesn't need a 12-inch zipper? All right. This is particularly useful, like talking about when you're not, when you're doing high-end items. I just said I know you can do it with lower end, but you really do need to do more explanation the higher the cost goes. The other thing is be confident in your price. When you're doing this, as you're talking about it, you have to believe what you're saying. You have to be confident in what you're saying and that price. If I'm going to sell you a $500 piece of jewelry, I have to be confident in my explanation. I can't be mousy and just like, oh, it's $500, but it's really pretty. No, I have to be like, y'all, this is gorgeous. I'm going to run this for $500, but check out this amethyst in here. You have to exude that confidence in order to get that confidence back from your buyers. If I provide my email in your Zoe DM, number tools in the PDF, and today will you have time to show us your seller hub? Hold on, wait, let me see what you're asking. If I provide my email, okay, oh, you got this? Okay, my husband's gonna answer you, so he'll take care of you. He'll message you or talk to you in the chat.
Can you just, excuse me, can you please rephrase the question? It's a little unclear.
There's a show that runs at midnight where they bid and the winner chooses how to literally smash an item. That can get out some aggression. That could be a safe way to let out some built up tension, couldn't it? Thank you. If you guys are interested in the PDFs, and you're purchasing them, make sure you are DMing me which ones you want. So we email them out. We try to do it right away within an hour or so after the show. Also, if you're on the fence about whether you want a PDF, I know a lot of people sell PDFs. If you're on the fence and you haven't already gotten our free one, send me a message and ask for the free PDF. It's 22 tools and whatnot. I don't have it in my bin anymore because it's starting to get outdated and I need to refresh it. But if you're curious on just kind of what format I use and what they look like, I'm always happy to send you that one for free so you can kind of get a feel for it before you spend money. So just to let people know if you're on the fence, you're more than happy to send that to you. All right. So be confident in your price because we're looking at long-term growth here. We're going to move on to our next point. The value isn't always in gaining an item for your collection. The value can also be in the fun of it. Absolutely. Cozy Old Farm, I totally agree. Sometimes I'll buy stuff just because I like it and enjoy it for a while, and then I move it on and sell it to somebody else, right? What tools are in the PDF? The second question, can you show us your Seller Hub to show us how to navigate Seller Hub? Seller Hub, you know what? Let's do that. I don't know if I'm going to have time to do Seller Hub today, but I am happy to do that on Monday. If you want to come to the Monday show, we just do a chat and sell. I'm happy to run through a Seller Hub on a Monday show. That way we can take our time and just kind of chit chat about it. So Monday at 7 a.m., come see me and we will do that. I will guarantee if you come in and remind me on Monday, make a point of making that happen. Okay. What makes a seller feel reliable to you? So this is a question for everybody out there. What makes a seller feel reliable? Consistency. Oh, absolutely. Got to have your anchor show. Consistent. Look at that. And people are like, have consistent shows. Don't leave me hanging. Knowledge. I like that, a Monster Mama. A clean selling space. Oh, Burlap Barn, you got that giveaway. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Shipping time, yes. Making sure that they're following whatnot rules with their 2-day shipping. A clean selling space. I'm super happy to see that consistency was like the first two answers to pop out there. because my point on what makes somebody reliable is consistency builds credibility. So consistency builds that credibility. What time are we? Oh, we're good on time. Systems replace chaos. We've talked about systems before. Let's just kind of take a different look at them though. Predictability builds trust with buyers. So our overall concept today is building trust and transparency, right? Our predictability builds that trust with buyers. And we've talked a lot about having your anchor shows, knowing buyers can count on you being there at a certain day and time every single week, week after week, right? That's part of the reason why I have put a 52-week series together is I am committed. Fridays at 7 a.m., I am going to be here no matter what. I mean, unless there's some natural disaster coming through my house, I am going to be here. But systems also, you didn't realize how effective they were until you did it. Oh, I'm glad. I'm so happy to hear that. If you are new and you're not understanding or this is the first time you're hearing me say anchor show, an anchor show is your one show a week, at least a minimum. Sunshine, I see you. Give me 1 second. I'll come right back to your question. One show a week that is on the same day and time, every single week, regardless. It's like your favorite TV show where your buyers, your supporters, your viewers know that it Tuesdays at 7 p.m., they can come and see you, whatever the day or time may be. That's an anchor show. Sunshine says, tax question. When I buy an item on Whatnot and pay shipping charges and turn around and sell it on Whatnot, can I deduct those initial shipping charges become part of your cost of goods sold. So it becomes part of that item cost for you. So yes, ultimately they're deductible as your cost of goods sold. Okay. So systems reduce mistakes and confidence. But I'm not just talking about systems in like shipping and stuff like that, because we've talked about that. Yeah, obviously having systems in your shipping helps reduce mistakes. I'm talking about during your shows. Using the same language in your shows creates consistency that builds credibility with your buyers. Take it away, my love. I see you. Yeah.
Good morning, TLC Mama Bear.
There you go. Good morning. Using the same disclosure language or the same language throughout your show. Can any of you just take a second and think, do you have any sellers that you know before they open their mouth what they're about to say? Because they say the same thing every single show. And I'm not talking about, oh, it's so cute. That's not what I'm talking about. Mama says yes. And you can call them out. You don't have to, but I'm sure we all know there are sellers that say the same thing. Jeremy, before he raids, says, I'm going to let Whatnot pick for me. If it's great, I want all the credit. If they're bad, Whatnot chose them. You know exactly what he's about to say when he goes for a raid. You know exactly what Jeremy's going to say when somebody raids him. Hey, Bob, thank you for the raid. Bob, you and you alone can put what you sell and what you do in the chat up to 3 times in the next few minutes. Okay? We memorize these things. What does that do? That helps build your credibility, or helps the buyer see more credibility, consistency in you. It gives them a sense of, looka. Yeah, the Aaronsville says, looka. It gives them a sense of peace and calm. They know what to expect. You're not chaotic. You have a system. You're not all over the place, right? This is comforting to buyers. You can be a high energy, fast paced seller, super energetic, in their face, and still have things you say over and over that's comforting to people. People like things that are the same. People like patterns. People like things they can count on. We can help them feel comfortable. What happens when you feel comfortable in a show? You stay longer. You don't swipe as fast. Isn't that what we want as sellers? It's hard to create these good habits, but totally, it does make sense. And they spend more money. Exactly, mamas. We want to create comfort and consistency. When your show opens, open your show in the same way. I try to do, welcome to Zoe's Treasures, everybody. Good morning. My name's Tracy. My husband, Noel, blah, 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 right? So think about the things that you're saying throughout the show. Pick one thing at a time. Don't get overstimulated. Pick one thing at a time to work on. An opening, a closing, when somebody raids you, when somebody, a first-time buyer. Pick one thing and then start working from there to create kind of more consistent, comforting things that you say. Maybe it's just a catchphrase that you have that you say throughout the show at certain times. Here already has a 20-minute talk. Okay, well, he has a 15-minute talk. So keeping that familiar thing. If you are going to make big changes, okay, we're talking about consistency builds credibility. But the other side of Whatnot, what we all talk about, what we hear all the time is pivot, 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 right? This is the key word of 2025. If I can sum up 2025 in one word on Whatnot, it's pivot. Can't tell you how many times I heard that stupid word, right? I probably said it a million times. I'm going to see a lot of hand talking. You're going to see me talking with my hands. Can't help it. Believe me, I've been told that my whole life because I have to get up and teach a lot. And it's been part of my reviews for years. So when you are going to make a change, when you are pivoting, make sure you're talking about that change. People don't like change. What happens to you? How do you feel when you go to your neighborhood grocery store? You're used to going into that Publix or, God forbid, Aldi or wherever you go in every day or once a week. What happens when they change up the aisles or mix things around and you can't find your Oreos? Does it create a little bit of that anxiety? You're like, this is the Oreo aisle. Where's my cookies? Right? Why did they move the milk? Okay. How would you feel? It's chaos. That's right. How would you feel if you go to the same grocery store week after week and for a couple of weeks leading up to it, yes, pissed off. That's right. For a couple of weeks leading up to it, every time you checked out, the cashier would say, hey, guess what? We're doing a huge reorg. We can't wait. The first of next month, our store is going to look totally different. What if you kept hearing that leading up to the change, to this big change? Come the first of next month, you would start going to do your shopping. You're like, oh yeah, they're going to change the store around today. Does that create excitement? Sometimes that creates, oh, I wonder what they did, versus walking into something that you weren't ready for. Okay? Why am I hating on Aldi? Oh, no. Sorry. So it's the same thing with us. Once we put the effort into building consistency, we don't want to just change it up right away, right? We want to build that consistency. And then as our business grows and evolves and we do need to make changes, we want to make sure that we're bringing all of our people along on that change in a comfortable way, not just throwing that change out there in their face and creating anxiety and going, oh, what happened? What happened to my show? You know? So think about that. And the bigger the change you're going to make, even on Whatnot, the bigger the change you're going to make, the longer the runway and the more talk you need about it. Okay? So if you are completely moving from one niche to another, you want to make sure you're building that excitement up. This is a good thing. We want your viewers and your buyers and your supporters to see this as good, not as they were selling vintage. Where did they go? I can't find them anymore. Oh, they're in t-shirts. What happened? No, we want them to come along the ride and be excited for us that we're moving. So we're going to start talking about that for a long, long time. I've done this with jewelry. We started teasing jewelry 2 months before we did jewelry shows, and I didn't even leave vintage. I'm just changing, adding something new into the mix. I was talking about it for months. I had a lot of people come to my first jewelry show just to support me, and it felt wonderful. So this is what you think about. These are concepts that are just business strategies that are pretty basic. It helps preserve that trust too. Not having that shock of something different preserves your credibility and preserves that trust with your buyers. All right, last point here. Trust creates repeat buyers. We've just talked about building up that trust, and building up that trust. Why do we need that trust? Because it makes people come back to you, plain and simple. And not just people, not just supporters, because supporters are wonderful. We all need everybody. But it also makes buyers come back to you. Repeat buyers reduce the volatility in your sales. When I say volatility in your sales, you don't want your sales on your shows going, oh, I made a lot, I made a little, I made a lot, I made a little, oh, maybe I made it in the middle, oh, I made a lot. You don't want that. It's hard to plan when your sales are high, low, middle, high, low. It makes it very difficult for you to plan your income, plan your expenses, plan growth, plan expansions. Having repeat buyers tends to even that out some. It reduces the volatility in your sales. New buyers are unpredictable. You have to, I don't want to say win over because that sounds very cheesy and car salesman-y, and I don't like that term. But you have to build the trust up with new buyers, whereas your repeat buyers, you've already put that time and effort in there. Your repeat buyers, the people that come back, are your base. This is your foundation in your business. Farm LLC talks about this a lot. She puts a lot of focus and time and effort to take care of her, what does she call them? Her VIPs, her repeat buyers, because she understands the value that a repeat buyer has. And don't get me wrong, we all still need new buyers. New buyers are vitally important to the big formula that you're looking at of people buying in your shows. But there should be kind of like an 80-20 rule, right? About 80% of my people should be repeat. And then I should have some new ones each time to turn into those repeats. Having a small group of regulars stabilizes you from show to show to show. Not only in sales, in the chat. Who's the first to bid normally in your show? A brand new person or a repeat person? For me, most of the time it's a repeat person. What does that repeat person do? They set the stage for the new people. Your repeat buyers are who your new buyers are watching. It's like when you go somewhere. You go to like any social event for the first time, something you're not familiar with. What are you doing? You're looking around. What's the expected behavior? What's the dress code here? What's the talk here? What are people doing here? As a new person, right? Your new people are watching your repeat people. I have went into shows where the seller is actually in the middle of talking about me, so people are watching you. 100%. Yeah, they're looking. They're like, what are they going to say? What are they going to buy? How high do they bid? Your repeat buyers hold power in your shows. You need to be taking care of them to the best of your ability. You need to be recognizing them. So what does this look like on Whatnot? We kind of have some examples already in the chat. I for Beauty says, I have 5 core buyers, Whatnot friends that have been with me for a year now. Previously mentioned, especially when you have a repeat buyer that mentioned something they bought. How valuable is that to a seller? Oh my gosh, I'm sure it's happened to most of us. And it's like when somebody comes in your show and says, oh, I bought this from you, thank you so much. Or I see it in this show when somebody asks about a PDF and other people will say, oh, I bought the PDFs, they were really helpful. You know, it was great, don't worry. You're not going to get that from a new buyer. It's your repeat people who are helping build your trust with the new buyers. Right? So it's really important that we're sustaining our credibility. We're not shocking our repeat buyers with massive changes that they weren't ready for, that we're keeping their confidence in us up, that we're being the sellers that they have come to expect and know and love, right? I don't need every show to be a viral hit, but I would like every show to be reliable. That's what my repeat sellers do. They make the shows reliable for me. So repeat buyers convert sales from event. Here you go. This was like a key point I wrote down here. And thank you so much, Oliver. I appreciate that. Repeat buyers convert sales from events into patterns. Okay? Repeat buyers convert sales from an event into a pattern. So we start to have a pattern of sales. You can have this big thing, you know, hey, check this out. I'm going to have a large butter patch show. And you make them happy and they come back. Now, instead of just this one-time event, it becomes this pattern of chatting, of fellowship, of sales. You start to, instead of like, oh, I got to go live. Am I going to make anything today? You think, oh, I'm going to go live. I'm probably going to see Brittany and Southern Charm and I Love Discounts. And oh, cool, we're going to go chat today. So for you, it does something emotionally for you also, whether you're thinking along those lines or not. Repeat buyers also reduce disputes and refunds. When you send something to a repeat buyer and it breaks in the mail, they're far more forgiving because they have already built up this history with you than they are a brand new person, right? Not that we try to break anything, but heck, sometimes in USPS stuff breaks. Your repeat buyers, having them reduces some of the back end stuff that you might have to deal with. Repeat buyers lower your marketing pressure. This one is probably worth its weight in gold. You don't need, as Whatnot sellers, we are always looking for the next best thing, right? What does Mama say? I was just looking at this morning. I am constantly increasing every show, but I noticed one show was down and it lined up with real life. There you go. Yeah. But we, as Whatnot Sellers, we're always looking for excitement, engagement, games, gimmicks, the best music, the best entertainment. Like, I know a lot of us are like, what can I do? What can I do? Right? We're looking for that thing. When we have repeat buyers, we don't always have to stress as much about our marketing. I mean, I think it's all important, but we're not like trying to create the big show that everybody's going to come at, or we're not trying to get on just the right raid train, because we've built up this core. We've built up some consistency, some stability that allows us to be creative in a way that fits within our business strategy versus trying to always go bigger and better to get more and more and more in. That's right. You just have to be you. Thank you for your purchase from the bin.
TLC and Mama Bear, can you send me over DM your email address so we can ship you those PDFs?
And then I got a workbook and a PDF. But any PDFs, as anybody buying PDFs, make sure to DM me so we can get it out to you right away. So you also have more organic growth. When you have repeat buyers, you have more organic growth. What are those repeat buyers doing? They're talking about you. If they come into your shows, they love you, they hang out with you, they buy from you, they're happy with you, they're talking about you, right? Your growth starts to become organic. You don't have to chase the growth. You're not always out there more, more, more. You're doing you. You're being you. You're doing your thing, and your growth is happening magically because you're doing you, right? Your shows are driven by trust, not urgency. And this is a big thing we see with new sellers. What is the biggest question we get from new sellers? How do I get more people in my room? How do I get more followers? That's an urgency. That's trying to get growth. That's this urgency mindset to growth, right? Well, shows driven by trust and repeat buyers removes that urgency, because once you've been around for a bit and you get some repeat people coming in and you establish your base, that question just kind of fades into the background, right? You can still have a low follower count. I don't barely even look at my follower account. I look at more of my engagement during my shows. That's what's important to me. But you can have 500 people and have a base and have your core group, and you're growing organically, and you don't have that urgency anymore of, how do I get more followers? How do I get more followers, right?
I would go nuts if I have 500 people in the room and everybody's engaging.
I don't think I can
wouldn't be
keep
able
up.
to follow up with the chat.
Yeah. So repeat buyers compound that trust. Okay? Last key point on this, and then we'll move over to our tax topic. Repeat buyers don't just support sales. They help to stabilize your business. I mean, that just sums it up right there. It's not just about sales. It's not just about the dollars. Repeat buyers help to stabilize your business.
Very nice. Congratulations, mamas.
I've been a seller for just over a month and I went from 0 to, that's exciting. Congratulations. All right. So business kind of section wrap up. A few key points. Trust is a financial control. Good morning, Looking Gosling. We are, by building trust, we are helping to control what happens to our business financially. Okay? Trust is a part of a financial control. Visibility reduces risk. We talked about that. Transparency prevents disputes. Education supports margins. Consistency builds legitimacy. Trust stabilizes your income. Stability simplifies your taxes. So that's everything we just talked about summed up in a few key points. Let's move on to our tax. Y'all, so we're going to go kind of to our tax section. We are going to talk about, what is our overall tax topic? Reporting live sales income with confidence is kind of our big tax topic. If you have any tax questions, I will try to answer them to the best of my ability. Feel free to put any questions in at any time. And if you are watching on YouTube, first of all, if you're here and you ever want to see a replay, it is on YouTube, so you can always go there and see it. If you are on YouTube, feel free to ask questions. We are watching the chat there. We have seen an increase in people watching there. Or you can click, I think it's over here, the little QR, and come on over to Whatnot and ask questions here. So first, to start off our tax thing, is there anything that's confusing or unclear when you think about your business income? So for anybody out there, is there anything that's unclear on what you would consider business income? All right, I'm going to take silence as acceptance that we're all cool. We know what business income is. So income is income. No matter what platform it's on, income is income. It doesn't change that. So whatever comes in on Whatnot, eBay, Mercari, Facebook Marketplace, it's all income. If you made $1,000 on Whatnot and $5 on Facebook, guess what? Facebook is just as much income as it is on Whatnot. That $5 is counts just as much as that 1,000. Facebook doesn't count. I got kicked off. For those of you who don't know, I got kicked off of Facebook. I listed something I shouldn't have. All right. So all income has to be reported. We already know that. We've talked about this probably a million and 10,000 times. Whatnot just sent out a 1099. So you should have got an email. I had a question the other day on where can we go and find our 1099s from Whatnot. The only way that I am aware of is through the link in the email, through the Stripe link. So if you go into Stripe, you should be able to find it. But in the email, it came out about 3 or 4 days ago, there is a link to get your 1099. I looked all through the Seller Hub. I could not locate. I went everywhere I could think of to go. I could not locate a way from the Seller Hub to get to your 1099. That was a question I had a few days ago.
Mama Scout, she sure has tried.
Good morning. Okay, so you should have got that 1099K. We'll talk a little bit about it, but basically that summarizes all your income from Whatnot. All of your tips, everything that has come to you. It is gross amount. It is before fees, before shipping, before anything else. It is the gross amount of revenue, of sales that went through Whatnot that has come to you on that 1099. That should match your records. You only get a 1099 if you made $20,000 in sales and had at least 200 transactions. So those two things had to happen for Whatnot to be required to send you a 1099. So if you made less than 20,000 or sold less than 200 items, you would not get a 1099. You were still required to report all of that income, even if you didn't get a 1099. All this 1099 is, all it is a way for Whatnot to report to the IRS that you made money. The amount has increased. Because, I'm sorry, my love, are you trying to show me something? Yeah, I answered the question. We got there. The amount has increased just to make the compliance easier. It used to be like $600, $5,000. It's gone up and down over the years. It's just to make it easier. It's just a paper reporting requirement from a business to the IRS. It really doesn't mean a whole lot to you, except for the fact to know that if you're going to get one or not. You still have to report your income regardless. Yes, no. Yes and no. It is not included on your 1099. So sales tax is not part of your 1099 number. Whatnot collects the sales tax and remits it on your behalf, and it's never included as part of your financial data on Whatnot. So Whatnot handles it all for you, but it's not part of that 1099. Okay. If you've made at least $400, you have to put this on your tax return. I, as a CPA, am going to put everything on my tax return. But if you just made $5, you can consider it a one-time thing. It's minimal. It's trivial. You can not put it on your tax return. If you have made at least $400, you have to put it on your tax return. Okay. Why is it $400? That's because that's the limit for self-employment tax. That's when self-employment tax kicks in. That is, as a self-employed person on Whatnot, you do have to cover all of your self-employment tax. And that's the limit the IRS sets at, hey, if you made $400, that's when we want to start getting a cut of it. So I want to mention that the IRS specifically calls out not Whatnot by name, but they call out selling goods online. It's part of what they call the gig economy. So if you're curious to read more about, what does Whatnot have to say about you as a reseller, you can go to the IRS. What does Whatnot have to say? Sorry, what does the IRS have to say? You can go to the IRS website and in their little search bar, type in gig, G-I-G, economy. And that's kind of where a lot of these rules are going to be summarized for you for your income. If you made 500 but spent 1,000 on goods, do I need to report? Yes, you still need to report because you made 500. And if you spent 1,000 on the goods that you sold to make that 500, you would ultimately take a loss. So there would be no taxable income left. But yes, you still have to report. It's gross. That $400 is gross, not your net number. If you're selling on other places, if you're on other platforms and you have not got your 1099 yet, the IRS requires all the platforms to make them available by January 31st, but that is a Sunday this year, I think, or a Saturday. So this year it's actually February 2nd. So while Whatnot sent theirs out a little bit early, I don't know about the other platforms. So just because you got Whatnot doesn't mean the other platforms are like, oh, I'm not going to send them. They have until February 2nd this year to make that available to you. I don't qualify for a 1099. Does Whatnot take care of reporting sales tax I collect on my sales? Sunshine, yes, they will. Whatnot covers sales tax. They report that on your behalf. You don't have to worry, not one bit on sales tax. However, for your income, for your federal taxes, you need to go and still report the money you made on your tax return. So your 1099 is not on Whatnot. It came in an email. It's through Stripe. I don't really use Stripe, so I don't know how to log into it. But if you can log into like where you go to Stripe, you should be able to find your 1099 there, or go back and look at the emails they just sent out. If you made less than that 20,000 and you're trying to reconcile your records at year end, you can go to your Seller Hub under the finances, and there is a yearly report. They have the 2025 reports available. You can click on that yearly report, and it's not a 1099, but it's a summary of all of your sales, all of your fees, all of your shipping, everything that happened within Whatnot will be in that report. Do I need all my receipts from inventory purchases, or do I just list them as deductions? How does that work? My husband says to deduct bubble wrap too. Yes, Shalom. You should have all your receipts. You should be keeping all the receipts in an organized manner in some fashion, even if they're in a box. You don't need to take your receipts to your CPA or your accountant. What you need to do is summarize them. You can handwrite a list of everything in categories. You know, what was shipping expense? What was packing materials expense? What was my internet expense? Utilities. So you're going to summarize everything into nice, neat categories, and that's what you're going to use to deduct. Your receipts are kept as backup. The receipts are just if the IRS audits you, that's your proof that it actually happened. And yes, bubble wrap, anything you use that's ordinary and necessary in the course of producing your Whatnot income or your reselling income is a legitimate business expense. Keep in mind, we talked about this before, ordinary and necessary. My fake nails are not ordinary and necessary for my business. They are not a deduction. I don't care who tells you they are not a deduction. How much of phone and internet can you use? There is a percentage based on your use. There is no rule from the IRS saying how much. It's what have you used for your business. If you have a phone that is solely for Whatnot, that's 100% deductible. If you have one phone that you use 50% business, 50% personal, then 50% of that is a business expense. You have to determine that percentage based on your use and your circumstances, and then just keep it consistent. Document how you came up with that. Don't just think in your head, oh, it's 50%. How did you come up with 50%? The key there is if you're ever audited, the IRS is going to say, okay, 50% sounds reasonable. How did you come up with that number? So put in with your tax records in your little file how you came up with your percentages. Have some consistent method to figure that out and write it down. How long should someone keep receipts? 3 to 7 years, just depending. 3 to 5. I keep mine for up to 7. Depending on the type of return, the business can go back a certain number of years. So I do 7. That may be excessive. 5 is kind of more of the standard. Yard sale or estate purchases, there's no receipt. Carolina girl, there's not. You should keep some type of logbook or record of that yourself. So long as you are consistently keeping a record of that, you should be okay. All right. So we talked about what is income. Let's talk about tips, bonuses, and a little bit of auction wins here. Tips and bonuses. So Southern Charm asked me about this last week, and I said I need to go look this up because there is a new regulation. The Big Beautiful Bill, Big Beautiful Act, Bill something, came out July 4th, and it included that tip income is now can be exempt for up to $25,000. So Southern Charm asked me, does this apply to whatnot tips? So the way the IRS regulations work, very high level, they'll create this. This is brand new, just came out. People are now starting to file their tax returns. Nobody's tested this out. Nobody's pushed the limits on this new regulation. So what's happening is CPAs around the country are reading the regulations, we're evaluating what they mean, and we're advising our clients in that manner. You're going to hear different opinions on this. Some CPAs will be really pushing the limits. Others are going to be very conservative. I will always fall on the conservative side, and I'll tell you that up front, and I'll give you my point of view based on the regulations. In a year or so, when these tax returns start to get audited and the IRS starts questioning things, that's when we're going to start to see, maybe even 2 or 3 years down the road, court cases coming out where the IRS might say, oh, well, we didn't mean that by the tips. That's when they start to challenge it. And then we start to get some legitimate court cases that then helps us as CPAs say, oh, no, this is what they meant by that regulation. Okay. So until we have that, all we can go by is reading the regulation and dissecting it in the best manner we can. So that's what I'm going to give you right now about tips. Trying to find a good accountant. Yes. They absolutely recommend having somebody to help you through this measure. So
Sunshine Vintage got your message. Don't worry about it. It'll be taken care of after the show.
Okay. So the tip thing, the new thing that came out says up to $25,000 of tips. It could be non-taxable for single people. If you're filing singly, for income up to $150,000, for married for income up to $300,000. So if you're married and you are in one of these industries I'm going to talk about, and you made less than $25,000 in tips, and in total your income is less than $300,000, you don't have to pay tax on those tips. Okay. However, the regulation specifically limits tips in 8 different industries, and one of the key words it says is that it's tips reported to your employer. Because it says tips reported to your employer, instantly my mind says whatnot does not count. We are self-employed. We are not reporting tips to an employer to pay payroll tax on. Okay? So instantly I'm starting to lean towards we can't do tips. Our tips are taxable for whatnot. Okay? Here's the industries that tips are excluded up to $25,000. Food and beverage, that's easy. Waitresses, waiters, they get $25,000 free on their tips, tax-free on their tips. Entertainment and events. Gambling, so like you're in casinos and stuff. And here's where the gray part comes in. Digital content creators. This is the only spot that maybe some CPAs and accountants will say, maybe whatnot would fall into a digital content creator. I don't feel that way. My conservative point of view is that we are resellers. We are not digital content creators. Now, if you got some type of a tip on TikTok for digital content you're creating, yes, that would be, you do provide. And so Mama, now you're pointing out this is where it becomes gray. There's no court cases to outline exactly what this means yet. So,
I think they're talking about monetizing the channels.
So this is where it becomes a little gray. I am leaning towards no, that at this point, from what I have read, under events and entertainment, we don't qualify. Our tips are taxable. The next one, personal services, tips to tutors, nannies, not taxable for up to $25,000. Hospitality, your bellhops. Nope, not even a community talk show. I don't think that qualifies. I would still report tax on my tips. Home services, if you tip your cleaner, your house cleaner, they're good. Personal appearance and wellness, hairdressers, massage people, tattoo artists, personal trainers, they can exclude their tips. Recreation, golf caddies, tour guides, they can exclude tips. Transportation and delivery, so your valet, your shuttle drivers. Those are the 8 industries that Whatnot calls out. And then I gave you examples that would fall under each industry. From reading those 8 industries and what the IRS regulations say, no parents, I do not feel, me as a CPA doing my tax return, I cannot tell you how to do yours. I will include tips on my tax return until more regulation or court cases come out to kind of make me sway to say, no, I don't need to. But just with the information I have available to me through the IRS at this moment, I feel Whatnot tips are still taxable. Take that for what you may. You can go to your CPA and your CPA may say, yeah, I feel you fall under this category. That's a discussion you guys have to have. So that's where that lies. I hope that answered that question, Southern Charm. So on Whatnot, everything is taxable. All your sales, all your tips, bonuses, new sellers, when they give you that matching your first however many sales, $150 or whatever, that's taxable income. That's going to be included in your 1099. Promotional credits that you get. Has anybody seen those promotional credits? Like Whatnot says, hey, you've got $40 you can use. When you use that $40, that's like them giving you cash. That's taxable. That's going to be included in that 1099 number. And then winning your own auctions. If I were to put an auction up and my husband were to bid on it, guess what? The income, even though it's going from his hand to mine, has to be recorded in my books as income. Yes, I get to take the expense, but it's no different than if I sold it to somebody else. So if you're in your home and your kid buys your item, your husband, somebody else that lives in your home, that's still taxable to you. Just because you sold it to somebody that's on your return doesn't make it not taxable. That's point 1. Let me do another giveaway because I'm like way behind on my giveaways this morning. Okay. Point number 3. Let's see. So I had some health issues and now I'm on Social Security. How does that work? How does it work? The rules do not change. What happens is Social Security allows you to make to a certain limit. Basically, your Social Security income is not, before your Social Security income is affected, you're allowed to make so much money. Once you hit a certain threshold, and I don't know what that is off the top of my head, your Social Security will either be reduced or be limited in some shape or form. That you would need to talk to the Social Security office and find out where those limits are. I could probably look that up and let you know. I'll see if I can remember to send you a message if I can look that up. Oh, thank you, good stuff.
You can still find the replay on YouTube. So if you want to listen or you missed part of the information, you can always go back to your YouTube and find the information there.
All right. Consistent reporting to the IRS. Consistent reporting prevents IRS anxiety. I missed a word there. Consistent reporting prevents IRS anxiety. So we're talking about our income. Having a system that is consistently followed on your side helps remove anxiety when it comes to the year end. You may have answered this earlier. Are you acting as an LLC? I am a sole proprietor. I will do my 2-second soapbox on LLCs. All the information I give you is from a sole proprietor or a single member LLC perspective. If you are an S Corp or a regular corporation, anything else, some of this applies to you, but there are a few differences in that. After a certain age, doesn't Social have no limits on income? I am not sure, Sunshine Vintage. I would have to look that up. I do not know if there's a certain age. Back to the LLC, sole proprietor. When you are a single person, just me or me and my spouse, as filing a joint return, and we create an LLC, the taxability, the way that you are taxed is no different than a sole proprietor. So creating an LLC is not always necessary. There's specific reasons why you would want to, and specific reasons why it may not be necessary. But you really have to talk to a financial advisor and a CPA because they need to look at the full picture of all the facts and circumstances. Any advice I give you, though, is from a sole proprietor, single member LLC perspective. So, anxiety comes from uncertainty, not from owing your taxes. My daughter and I do this together. We split everything. She runs the show and I'm the face of the show. It's all in your name. How does this work? All of the income is going to be reported on your tax return. So this is a case right here, mamas. This is a case where you might want to talk to a tax professional and a financial advisor. This might be a perfect case to set up an LLC where then you would issue her a K-1 and all the income would not be reported to you. That you would then be able to split that income from the business, her portion and your portion. What you're describing is one of those scenarios that somebody might say, hey, an LLC or an S Corp makes really good sense in this situation. But as of right now, if it's just your social security number tied to whatnot, that 1099 and all that tax reporting is your responsibility, not on your daughter whatsoever. Now, it may change too. And this is where you get to like, this is why I can't give specific advice, because there's so many unique circumstances to each person and each family. If your daughter is your dependent, things can change there. She's probably not filing her own tax return if she's your dependent. Then it doesn't matter. If your daughter is grown up living on her own, filing her own tax return with her husband, but you're reporting all the income, then it may matter, right? So no dependency, yeah. So that may be a good reason, depending on all the rest of your facts and circumstances, that you may want to actually set up an LLC or an S Corp to divide income. Because as of right now, it's probably all just going straight to you. Which if it's a joint business, that can hit you hard. Weird one. I pay in quarterly on my whatnot income to the IRS. Yep. And your December payment is still pending. Not sure what to do. As long as you paid it in, you should be fine. Just report it as normal. They'll catch up eventually. The IRS is like bogged down right now, completely bogged down. Does it with me, not my dependent, my son, my husband. So, and my dependent son. So if it's your husband and you're filing a joint return anyways, then you're like one person regardless. Sarah Sage, congratulations, you got that giveaway. And your dependent son's on your return anyway. So it's just, so Shalom is going to go on your Schedule C. It doesn't matter. So that would be a case just by those limited facts where I would start leaning towards not creating an LLC. Again, these are very limited facts. There's so many other facts that can fall into play that may change the direction on where you would want to go. What I want to talk about is being consistent on the front end. We talked about reporting income. The income that you should be tracking is not what you transfer to your bank account, okay? All of us know we can do a show once a week, once a month. We can pull that money out of whatnot. That's net. We don't want to report net income. You should be using the whatnot reports and logging in your accounting records the gross income. The money you pull out into your bank account, that's just cash flow. That's not what whatnot's reporting on the 1099. Because that's after whatnot fees, after any shipping that you're paying. One thing, hold on, let me see. Rawson says, one thing to keep in mind with your example of a family member in your house buying something you sell on whatnot, it could, I mean, it could be considered shill betting, but if they're legitimately buying it, making sure it's legit. I'm assuming that everything is on the up and up with that. Absolutely do not support shill betting in any way, shape, or form. But yes, you do need to be careful with that. But I have adult children. I mean, they're not in my house, but he'll bid on stuff occasionally, but it's not shill betting. They actually want to buy it because I don't just give it to them because I'm mean. Okay. You need to set aside time on a regular basis to do your accounting. To go to whatnot, either on a weekly or a monthly basis, and record what that gross number is. You should be keeping track of that income on a regular basis. Because I'm kind of jumping ahead here. When you get that 1099, you should be looking at what you have as income and what whatnot has as income, and they should be matching. They should be pretty darn close. If they're a few bucks off, who cares? They should be pretty darn close. We're going to talk about why in a minute. But the bigger you are, And when I say bigger, I'm talking about volume of dollars running through, volume of sales, volume of transactions running through, not just sales transactions, how much money you're spending, the more often you should be sitting down to do your accounting. If you are sourcing every day, you're spending money every single day, you should be recording on a daily basis. If you go sourcing once or twice a week and you don't have a large volume of transactions, then maybe on a weekly basis is okay. What I'm getting at here is keeping it manageable. You don't want to sit down to do your accounting and have weeks and weeks of stuff to record and all these transactions. Do it on a regular basis, consistent with the size of your business. When you purchase items in 2025 and start Whatnot, etc., what year is it reported? Great question. So that you're talking about your inventory, so purchasing your inventory. When you purchase inventory, you're taking cash, a dollar bill, and you're exchanging your dollar bill for an item. It's an asset. It's not an expense at that point. It does not count as an expense. It's just all you did was trade the dollar bill for something tangible that you can hold in your hand, okay? When you sell that item, it becomes an expense. That's when it's reported. So if you bought it in 2025 and you're just holding on to it and you sell it in 2026, it becomes an expense in 2026. Now, when it comes to inventory, I explained this in my, I'm pretty sure I explained this in the PDF. When it comes to inventory, there's two different ways to do it. Cash and accrual. So the cash basis, if you're going to report it that way, says if you bought it in 2025, you expense it. That's not, I would not recommend that because it doesn't match up your expense to your income. And you're going to get hit hard the next year. That always comes around to bite you. However, your accountant may look at it and there may be legitimate reasons to do it. 9 times out of 10, the recommended way is to make sure to match your expense to your income and do it the way I explained. When it gets sold, it becomes an expense. Okay. So make sure that you're recording everything on a regular basis. What does that do? It lessens that anxiety that you have at year end. How many people right now, just put a hand up or an emoji in the chat, if you are totally at peace and calm and you know what to expect filing your tax return? I see people laughing at that comment. Yes. A lot of people right now have anxiety about what's about to happen. But not because of your work, see? No, but because of my husband. So you should, my goal for you is that next year at this time, you're at peace and you're not stressed about it at all. You're watching it throughout the year. You're paying in what you need to pay. You're keeping the records you need to keep. And you shouldn't have stress and anxiety this time of year. If you know you're going to owe, you're already prepared for that. If you know that you're breaking even, you're already prepared for that. So this shouldn't be an anxiety-driven thing. This is a normal part of your business, no different than planning when your shows are. You need to plan for your taxes. The exact same thing. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I think I got this in Atlanta somewhere. All right. Point number 4, because we're getting low. We're getting kind of low on time. I can't believe I'm actually my voice is still holding up. Lord help you and the person doing your taxes. It gets better. The more you learn, the more you grow, it gets better. All right. Your own records matter more than what the platform says. This is important. Your records matter more than what that 1099 says. Okay? How many people have experienced a Whatnot glitch? I have. I can probably confidently say everybody in this room has seen a Whatnot glitch in a show somewhere. If you think Whatnot is only glitching on the shows, you don't think it glitches on the accounting records they keep? Who keeps the accounting? Who does that back-end programming on Whatnot? Yeah, Whatnot never glitches. They're people. They're people programming for the accounting side of it. What Whatnot says is probably pretty accurate, but it's not the end-all be-all. You know who should have the most accurate records? You. Your business, your money, you're in control. You should know exactly how much money has come into your business. It's not Whatnot's job. It's not eBay's job. It's not Poshmark's job to tell you how much money you made. Do you think a brick and mortar store runs their store for the week and then says, hey, Visa, Yeah, hi Visa. Can you tell me how much money we transacted through you? Thank you. Oh, hi MasterCard. American Express. Can you tell me how much money I made this week? No. They run daily sales reports. They reconcile on a regular basis. That's a brick and mortar store. That's you. You looking to Whatnot or to eBay or to Poshmark or Mercari to tell you how much money you made is a recipe for disaster. You're in control. It's not all AI. No, it's not. So your records tell your story, your business story. Whatnot's records tells Whatnot's story. Well, when it comes to my taxes that my name goes on and that I have to pay, my story is going to be the reigning, king of that, not what Whatnot says. Okay. They do a nice little report each month, breaking it down along with the bill. Yeah. Use the Whatnot reports. You should be recording your sales. Go to Whatnot once a month. Go to all these other sites once a month. Pull down that report. Match it up to what you made. Look at what you've recorded. You know what you make gross. You should be having even if it's just a little jotted down. Oh, I made this much on this show, this much on this show. Gross. Does that match them with their Whatnot report? Oh, okay, this makes sense. Yeah, my fees are consistent. How are you ever going to catch something if it's wrong? If your records aren't in order, right? It is so hard. Adulting really is hard. Business is hard. All right. So you're responsible for those, not Whatnot. Whatnot can lag behind. Maybe it's not always, perfectly up to date. It can be summarized differently than your cash flow too. So keep that in mind, that the way they summarize may not look exactly the way you summarize things. I don't want to adult anymore. So at the very least, very least, you should be tracking your gross sales. I mean, you should track a lot more, but this is at the very least. Carolina, give me 1 second. I'll come to your question. You should be tracking your gross sales, how much you paid in fees, what your net payouts were, and how much you're spending on shipping. At the very least, very, very minimal, at least do those. Let's see. How to switch over to reporting items purchased, year they're sold, if in previous years they were reported the year they were purchased. That's a little more tricky. So that we would need to really start to take a look. You can just switch on your tax return. They do allow you, yes, it's not a permanent, I don't think it's a permanent election. You can switch each year. So you have to actually get into your accounting. If you've already claimed those items in a prior year, you cannot claim them again. So you would really have to have good detailed records and be able to segregate that out, particularly in that year of switch, to know what could be counted in that second year versus the first year. So you start with your records, make sure you know what applies to what, and then work with your accountant to make that switch. But it is doable. It all goes back to the records you're keeping. All right. Final and last point on taxes. We have 18 seconds on this giveaway. Confidence comes from knowing your numbers. Here I've just talked about, it's up to you, know your numbers, right? When you know your numbers, you control the narrative. You can't look back and make good decisions. You can't plan without knowing what's going on in your own business. And you only know that if you're tracking it. Brittany, you got that giveaway. Thank you for doing that.
Congratulations.
We're going to do one more giveaway, I think, for the day. Okay. So small businesses that don't invest time in reporting and budgeting are doomed to fail. So I went and looked up. I did some digging on the good old internet there, did some research. What were some of the top reasons businesses failed? And you are a business. What you're doing here, you are a business. So what is some of the ways, the top 3 reasons businesses fail? Poor understanding, lack of knowledge. So just the fact that you're here trying to say, okay, well, let me learn something about taxes, shows that you're trying to combat that. A lot of businesses fail because of a lack of knowledge about their niche, about their finances, about taxes, about what's happening and affecting their business. That's number 1 reason businesses fail. Number 2, being unrealistic about financial projections. Saying, oh man, Rae Dunn mugs are all the bomb. I'm going to go spend $5,000 and sell nothing but Rae Dunn mugs. Maybe that's not the smartest decision. Maybe it is. But being unrealistic about financial projections, I want to move into another space. I can easily say, oh, that's cool. I make $10,000 a month on Whatnot. I can do that. Is that realistic? You have to understand, and there's no way to do a realistic financial projection unless you know where you're coming from. Projections, what's going to happen financially in the future, is dependent upon what happened in the past. Do I need an EIN to get a bank account for my whatnot money? Yes and no. If you want a business account at the bank, they will require you, most banks will require you to have an EIN. But if you're just a sole proprietor, you can just open up another bank account in your own name and use that just for whatnot. That won't require an EIN. That's based off your social security number. I don't have an EIN. I just opened up another account that I use for business. Can you report items? Can you report items can you repeat items we should keep track of? Shipping, gross sales, yeah. At the very least, you should be tracking more than, but at the very least, your gross sales, all the fees that come out of there, fees like platform fees, shipping expenses, that comes out before the net payout. Then what is your net payout? The date it was received, where it was received. Those are at the very minimum. The third thing about a third way businesses fail, or third reason why new businesses fail, failing to recognize when you need help. And this is a perfect time of year to fail to recognize when you need help. I think most people are more than capable to do their tax return using one of the online platforms. There's plenty of them out there. However, if you have the least little bit of doubt, particularly in the first year or two of business, this is a good place to go in and ask. Go to an H&R Block, go to a CPA, go to an accountant or an experienced bookkeeper to get help, to get a professional's help. And it's not just with taxes. Failing to recognize when you need help, reach out to other Whatnot people. Bounce ideas off of other Whatnot people. We don't come on Whatnot to sell because we know everything about business, right? We come on because we have found something we're passionate about or something we really like doing, or we have this need to make some money for one reason or another. There are a lot of areas in a business that we have to be humble enough to say, I don't know. And it's okay to say, I don't know about taxes. I don't know about accounting. I don't know about marketing. I don't know how this feature on Whatnot works. What's going to set you apart from another business is being humble enough to say it, to recognize it, and then to go and ask for help. Asking for help is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength as a business owner.
And with that, I'm going to plug in this Sunday, 6:30 Eastern Standard Time. If you want to join us at the Reselling Roundtable with Lysandra and Tony from Love Discounts, Jeremy from Green 13, and my lovely wife. There you can ask a lot of questions and you will receive a lot of different points of view and answers to your questions. We'll be live.
Thank you, Mr. Announcer. Shalom, thank you so much. Bottom line, ask people. If you look at any CEO of any business, and I've worked in a lot of different businesses. I've worked in nonprofit for years. I was an auditor for years. And as an auditor, I went into a lot of businesses. The CEO is never the smartest man in the room. Asking for help is strength. Absolutely. Nest and Vineco, you got that giveaway. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
The CEO is never the smartest person in the room. You know what they do though? In a sense they are, because they surround themselves with people who have expertise in various areas. That's what a C-suite is. You have your CEO at the top and they surround themselves with people that know different things.
Yes, I love Discount. She did the girl math, the Tony math, not the CPA math yet, but she already laid it out.
Yes. So why do we do these things? Why are we failing? Out of fear. We're afraid we're going to look stupid if we ask for help, right? We're afraid to look at our financial projections because they might not be what we want them to be. Denial. We deny what the reality of our finances are. So then we start to fail. We fudge the numbers to make it look better than what they are. Do you have the Sunday show in your posted shows? The Sunday show is on YouTube.
Carla, it's on YouTube at the Reselling Roundtable. I'm going to put it up one more time. It'll be this Sunday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So you can join us there live. There'll be a live chat so you can ask questions and you can interact with all three. Well, actually, all
All
four.
four. Good stuff. Have a great day. Thank you for joining us today. Why are these things happening for business, Phil? We can feel overwhelmed. This becomes too much. A lot of people are like, oh, I hate accounting. Look, unless you're geeky like me, you don't go into business because you love accounting. I know, I get it. I've worked with people my whole life as an accountant. People don't like auditors. They don't like accounting. So you feel overwhelmed. Break it down into small chunks. Do it piece by piece by piece. Lack of time. We must schedule our time to take care of the things that are important in our business. A lack of time leads to failure. Lack of knowledge, we already talked about asking for help. Biggest one, mixing your personal and your business money. You mix your personal and your business money, everything becomes muddy and confused. You don't know what you did. You can't know where you're going. And then you fall into being unrealistic about financial projections because you don't have a good base to start from, right? All right. So those are our 5 big key points. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. Whatever system you're going to use to track your key metrics, your revenue, your expenses, keep it simple. Pencil and paper, a software program if that works for you. Find what works for you. Good morning, Choco Dog. Find what works for you and use what works for you. I'm not going to recommend any specific system because what works for me may not be what works for you. I used QuickBooks last year, decided I didn't like it. It took too much time. I'd rather just use an Excel spreadsheet. I can whiz right through an Excel spreadsheet, get my stuff done efficiently each week on time. That's what works for me. Some of the other key metrics you should know. I talked about things you should track. Other things you should know. Your AOV, average order value. How much money are you making per item? I don't think it's important to focus on each item, but you need to know an average order value. We talked about last week on how to figure out how much money you want to make, how that leads to how many shows, how much stuff you need to source. You can't go through that formula unless you know your average order value. You can go back and look at the whatnot from last week to see that whole kind of scenario that talks about how to plan out how much money to make. Your average show revenue. You should know on average how much money does each one of my shows make on average. Okay, you may have some highs and some lows, but on average, where are you? And your typical weekly payout. How do you know if you can grow or if you can afford something if you don't know I typically get X number of dollars for cash flow each week? So those are some numbers that you should know, you should be aware of in making most of your decisions are going to come back to one of those numbers. All right. With all of that said, we're going to wrap it up. Yep, no giveaways are going. We're going to wrap it up real quick. How many shows should you consider to get your average? You just start adding them up, but I would look back at least 5, at a minimum 5. More if you can, 10 if you can. Or do it by month. Okay, for the whole month of January. If you're running consistent, like you do a weekly show, look at it by month, or look at it by quarter. So every quarter I make X number of dollars, divide that by a month. So maybe one month is slower, but the next month is a little bit higher. So whatever would work for your business. Can you briefly explain why we need some of the spreadsheets in the shop? So you don't need any of them. They are there just as a very simple spreadsheet for those of you who maybe just are like, look, I don't even know where to start, where to begin. They are very basic spreadsheets. They are not super fancy spreadsheets. I actually hesitated for a long, long time of even putting spreadsheets in my shop because they have formulas, they're in Excel, and formulas get easily messed up. So I hesitated for a long time to even put them in there. But then I thought some people at least might want to see a base on where to start. So that's why they're there. If you're not familiar with just how do I just organize an inventory, or how do I organize my cost of goods or my basic revenue expense, that's a good starting point for you. And that's what I would say for the spreadsheets there. If you want something super fancy, advanced, that's not going to be it. There's just no way that I feel comfortable creating super advanced formulas and putting it out there that can be manipulated by somebody else. They just end up getting messed up. Then you're unhappy and then I'm unhappy. So
Thank you for your purchases from the bin. But
Yes.
if you would like to rewatch the show, you can do it for free at our YouTube channel. Your YouTube channel is on the screen at this moment. Comment, follow us.
thank you. I'm going to leave you with this last thought and then I'm going to go raid. So I put it in the chat at the very beginning, but every week I'm trying to have a CEO affirmation. You are a CEO of your business, and I want to just bring to you a little positivity in the CEO. So every week I put it in the chat at the beginning of the show, and I want to close my show that way. So this week's CEO affirmation: I know my numbers. I respect every dollar of my business, or every dollar my business earns, and I report my income with clarity and confidence. And with that, we are going to go raid.